everyone. So I know a lot of people have had questions about my recent post about me meeting my biological father for the first time at 32. I've also had a few people, friends, and that have heard the story reach out to me for advice. So I wanted to wait until after I met him to share this story. But so in my situation, my mother was actually adopted at birth. So after her adopted parents passed, I wanted to find out who her biological parents were, not even necessarily to start a family or anything like that, just to find out my heritage and where I came from. So I sent in my DNA and my mother's DNA to AncestryDNA. So within that process, when people also send in their DNA, you start to get all these matches back. These DNA matches, your DNA related to them. So I knew that I grew up thinking that a certain person, a postale, was my biological father. Now, we didn't really have a close relationship all of my life, but I started noticing that none of his name was coming up in DNA matches, and none of his family. So I first started questioning that, and then very shortly after, within a couple of days, I actually got a message from a third cousin DNA match from England. And she introduced me to another cousin. And we started talking and trying to figure out how we all could be related. Well, we couldn't figure it out. So I literally picked up the phone and called my mother and asked her to be truthful with me. At that point, she was, and gave me a name of another possible biological father. So I actually found him on Facebook, and I messaged him and just tried to approach the situation as nicely as I could, and without any expectations, just letting him know that I just wanted to know, and would he be willing to do a paternity test. He did agree, so we set off for a paternity test. During that process, we spoke daily, which was so overwhelming. There's so many emotions that go into this that it is just unbelievable. There's very high and low emotions, and especially any age, but me being 32 and now realizing this and questioning, it was, to say the least, it was not easy. But I kind of did have an idea, because in speaking with him, I found out his name is Mike Lewis. I know he won't mind that I share that. I found out that his mother was actually born in Ireland, and then she lived in England for a long time, and her name was Moffat. So the cousins that I had been speaking with in England, that was actually their name. That was one of their surnames. So it would have had to been an astronomical coincidence for us not to be related. So I did have some idea that this was a huge possibility. Also, I know it's funny, like how you feel stuff in your heart sometimes, but I did, and he and I have very similar personality traits. So this was about a month-long waiting process, and to say the least, I was on pins and needles, totally emotional highs and lows, and I know he was as well. I know he didn't expect this. He didn't know that he had a daughter. I didn't know this. So when we found out, finally, he immediately flew down last Thursday. So I live in Florida. He lives in North Carolina. And North Carolina is where I was born and raised. I've been in Florida for a lot of years now. So he flew down. We met. He actually spent the weekend with my husband and I. And I have to say I'm truly humbled. I mean, he is an amazing man. It has just been a complete blessing. I can't even tell you how wonderful the experience has been. And I am so thankful to AncestryDNA, because otherwise I would have known. So I actually have a half brother and a sister-in-law who I haven't met yet, but I will be meeting the end of next month. I still am searching for my mother's biological parents, my biological grandparents, but it's a little bit more difficult in that situation because I don't have either parent. I have no information. So through AncestryDNA, though, you're kind of evaluating DNA matches, common surnames, and it can be time consuming, but I think that I have a great-great-grandparent narrowed down on one side. I'm not sure which side, but it's still a process, and I know it's going to be a longer process with that. And again, it's just that I wanted to know for my heritage and to know where I came from and where this DNA analysis of me came from. So beyond that, though, a lot of people I know are like, how did this happen? I know people are shocked when I put the information out there. And like I said, I wanted to wait until after I met my biological father to tell this story. But it has just been, I will say too, one of the main reasons is I've had several people reach out to me, friends that I didn't even know that were in the similar situation, not necessarily exactly the same, but that are seeking out information and have asked me questions about the process in which I found this out and how it came about. So I am truly humbled that they have asked my advice and asked my opinion. And there's so many emotions that I am here if anybody has advice or anybody needs advice or just to talk about all the emotions, how you feel. I definitely am here. Email me, PM me. I will let you know, and definitely am an ear if you need it, because I know how crazy this process can be. But my advice is to take the first step. Even if your first step is to do the AncestryDNA, and you may have to do a little research. And even if your outcome isn't as positive as mine, then at least you know, because that was my only goal in the beginning, is to know and to have knowledge. And the crazy part about it is how we are today with all of the technology at our fingertips. Some of the things that people intended to keep hid is not going to stay that way. So we can actually find out a lot now. And, sometimes the reasons may seem to not make sense, or we may not still understand some of the reasons of why people do certain things, but you can find out the truth, and the process can end up being positive. And I really hope that, for the people who have reached out to me, or that are going through this, that your experience ends up being as positive as mine. Because it can end up good. It can end up good. And my dogs are barking now, of course. But I wish you luck. And like I said, I will keep you posted and let y'all know how it goes when I meet my half-brother and my sister-in-law and my stepmother, and how it goes with me finding out more about my mother's biological parents. But, I hope this helps. And like I said, if you need an ear or have questions about the ancestry, how I went about it, just message me, because I know it can be a lot. It can be so overwhelming, but I just wanted to share, and not only for that, just to answer the questions for all the people that are like, what in the world has been going on in her life recently, and we have no idea. So good luck, and I hope this answers some questions, y'all. Bye.